Tēnā koutou katoa. No mai haere mai. Thank you for learning more about stroke recognition and how to take action to give timely care to whānau. This presentation is led by the Regions Care Stroke Research Team and has been created in partnership with people who have experienced a stroke and with input from Stroke Aotearoa, New Zealand. What is a stroke? Our heart pumps blood with oxygen to all parts of our body, including our brain. Our blood is pumped through tiny pipes in our body called blood vessels. The blood and oxygen make sure all parts of our body, including our brain, keep on working. A stroke is a medical emergency in which the blood supply to a part of the brain is suddenly stopped. It can be caused by two things, either a blockage in a blood vessel in the brain or a bleed from a blood vessel in the brain. In both situations, the area of brain that is affected does not get enough blood and oxygen to work properly. When a person has a stroke, they must get urgent medical treatment to reduce damage to their brain. Urgent medical treatment means immediately. There's no time to wait and see what happens. A stroke is also called a brain attack because it is similar to a heart attack. A heart attack is when blood with oxygen doesn't get to your heart. A stroke is when blood with oxygen doesn't get to your brain. When this happens, damage to the brain happens in just a few minutes, and the damage continues for hours after the stroke begins. If urgent medical treatment is started within a few hours, permanent damage to the brain can be reduced or stopped. That is why it's so important to get urgent medical treatment as soon as possible after a person shows signs of a stroke. The three most common signs of a stroke are when a person's face falls or droops on one side, or when they lose strength in one arm, or they are finding it hard to speak or their speech is mixed up. The first three letters of these signs have been used to make a useful tool called FAST, so you can remember the most common signs of a stroke and know what to do. And the last letter, T, reminds us to take action immediately if we see any of these signs. A large percentage of stroke can be treated if the person gets urgent medical care immediately. This urgent medical care needs to happen in hospital, which is why you need to call 111. Anyone in your whānau or community can have a stroke, so that means they all need to know the signs of a stroke, know what to do and how to act immediately. You can help whānau by having a kōrero about the FAST tool, as it is an easy way to remember the signs of stroke and how to take action immediately and call 111. Remember the three main signs. F is for face. Is the person's face drooping on one side? A is for arm. One of the person's arms weak. S is for speech. Is the person's speech mixed up, slurred, or they may not be able to speak at all? And T is for take action immediately and call 111 to get urgent medical support. There are other less common signs of a stroke that you need to be aware of. When the back part of the brain is damaged by a stroke, the signs can be different. A person may have sudden problems with their balance or coordination, or they may suddenly be unable to see or have double vision. They may have numbness or leg weakness on one side. These could also be signs of a stroke, so you need to take action immediately and call 111 to get help. If you think someone is showing the signs of a stroke, call 111 immediately. Don't try and take the person to the doctor yourself. The paramedics are trained to assess and treat people having a stroke as soon as they arrive. Even if you're not sure, call for help. You will not get into trouble if it is not a stroke, and there's a chance that you can prevent brain damage.
Kia ora, Michael Harmy is my name. I came from Tikaraka, just out of Gisborne. I'm 68 and I'm a stroke survivor. At the time I was having a stroke, I didn't know it was a stroke, but I felt confused. I couldn't complete the actions of putting my key in the ignition, even though I was looking at my key in the ignition. My brain just wasn't communicating that message to my arm. I didn't know I was having a stroke until about lunchtime the next day. But the signs were there, the confusion, couldn't think straight, couldn't do simple actions. If I knew what the signs of a stroke was, I would ring 111 or get my helpers or whānau to ring 111 straight away. It is important for whānau in Kaiawhina to know the signs of stroke so they can get help immediately by ringing 111. Regardless whether it's a false alarm or not, I would encourage whānau to ring 111 straight away. It's very important to get help as soon as possible. You know something is wrong, call the ambulance. The sooner the better. Don't ignore the signs.
So why do some people get strokes? Well, we don't always know why, but there are some things that make it more likely that a person may have a stroke. These are called risk factors. The more risk factors a person has, the greater the chance there is of them having a stroke. Not everyone who has a stroke has risk factors, but most people do. Here are some of the most important risk factors. They include having high cholesterol or diabetes, an irregular heartbeat, high blood pressure, smoking, being overweight, drinking too much alcohol, and lack of exercise.
And that's when the stroke actually kicked in. It didn't really kicked in. And that's when my speech, I couldn't talk, my face had dropped, my arm was heavy, I couldn't move, and I couldn't move. And that's when the stroke really kicked in then. Well, whānau, definitely, you've got to, yes, do listen to whānau and do, because immediately, the quicker it's gotten for you, if you're having your stroke, is to go with the fast. And quicker the better, because the more help that you get, the quicker, then that is when you have more chance coming out of it okay or not so debilitated as what you can get. And use the fast. Encourage the family to learn that method. Fast, which F means for face, which can drop. A is for your arms, because your arm could become heavy and you can't move your arm either side, whichever side it's affecting. S is your speech, because it either gets slurry or you can't speak at all. And T is for time. The quicker it is help has got, the better the recovery. Be a time if you may be having a stroke that you would not recognise it as a stroke. With this event happening, it is very important. You listen to your whānau or to who is trying to help you. Listen to them and let them call the emergency service that are required and to help get you there quicker. Well, to be honest, the way it happened to me, not really too much differently, because all I could have done was contact my family. And I was just fortunate enough for my son to realise, after being worried earlier in the day, that because the message wasn't coming through on the phone, that I was trying to get through but I couldn't, so there was something wrong. And I wouldn't do anything differently in my case. But if there are people of having strokes and you are aware, the sooner you get help, the better. And the sooner you do get medical help, can help you out and also prevent brain damage and save your life. Do not feel that you are going to be an inconvenience or a nuisance, because that's what the medical profession is there, to help you and to check you over. Quicker the better. And it is not our job as the person whom is having that stroke to diagnose, self-diagnose, get help.
And I noticed that I couldn't turn my left side, but I managed to get myself out of bed and stuff, and I could still move. So yeah, I just went about my day. It wasn't until the second day that I realised something was wrong and got my wife into action. No, my wife didn't call the ambulance. My wife called Healthline, and they called the ambulance. So they, from what my wife had said to them, or what I had told her, they felt I had had a stroke. Yeah, it was all the other ones, it was the ambulance and the GP and A&E that didn't think I had a stroke. I told them that that my left side was weak, so my arm and my leg. But apart from that, I didn't, because I could still talk, and so there was nothing else that I could pick out. You know, when the ambulance arrived, they noticed that I could talk. Then they did an ECG, I think it's called, to check my heart, and they discovered I had an irregular heartbeat, which I didn't know I had an irregular heartbeat. On the third day, after I had, on the second day I had been to, the ambulance arrived, I went to my GP, went to A&E, and they all said I hadn't had a stroke. Well, on the third day I got out of bed and I fell over, on my left side. So my left side must have got weaker. And so we went back to my GP, and he continued to say I hadn't had a stroke, but my wife wasn't happy with his answer, and so she took me to A&E, and she told A&E that there was something wrong with me, and she demanded I have a CAT scan. And so they did a CAT scan on my brain, and yeah, they found a clot on the right side of my brain. Yeah, you know. So maybe if I had done something about it the first day, I might have come right, you know, because what they would have done was they would have, well, I think even then, they may have said, oh, no. So I want whānau, Kaiawhina and health professionals to understand that stroke can impact people differently, so it's not always the same. So, yeah, so it's important that the nurses and doctors really, really listen to their patients. You know, we don't always know what's happening, but we know that something's not right. So it's important that we get urgent, early treatment so that there's less likely of getting more damage.
Strokes can be prevented, and with your support, people who have had strokes can still lead good, active lives with their whānau. Thank you very much for learning about stroke recognition and getting urgent medical treatment. If you would like more information to help protect whānau from stroke, please go to the Stroke Aotearoa New Zealand website. We'd also like to thank our other partners who contributed to developing this training module, including whānau from Tairāwhiti, who shared their lived experience of stroke, and local health providers listed here. Ka nui tēnei.